I'm about to show you how getting jacked was one of the best things I did to lessen and almost completely remove my social anxiety, okay? And we're starting off straight away by diving into the definition and seeing that social anxiety is an intense, persistent fear of being watched, judged, or humiliated by others in social or performance situations, okay? And what we can extrapolate, what we can gather from this straight away is that social anxiety is framed around receiving negative judgment, okay? And if you're receiving negative judgment, if you're someone right now who thinks they have social anxiety, then chances are that is more than likely going to mean and signal to you that you have some unfavorable traits or some negative traits about you, whether that is looks, personality, or attitude. It doesn't matter. You have some form of negative trait that people don't like because it's a people world, and social anxiety is only caused by other people not liking you and not accepting you, okay? I want you to go straight away and answer this question for me. And we're going to break down why getting jacked is the solution to fixing it, okay? Who has more social anxiety? Is it this guy right here? This skinny dude with rib flare and crooked fucking shoulders and skinny clavicle bone popping out and a fucked up haircut and stupid clothes, and he's skinny and frail and weak, where I had many negative traits here? Or is it the guy years later who started developing himself, got on self improvement, got inside the gym, built an aesthetic physique, and years later now has way less negative traits about him, looks wise? You can see here. Well, who do you think has more social anxiety? If you're not retarded, you're obviously going to say the first guy, right? And that is true. That is simple. And it's a simple, basic concept that as my negative physical traits decreased, basically as I got better looking and I improved myself as a man, my self-esteem naturally increased as well. Okay? And that is because the world rewards positive traits and society will naturally accept you more. When I got jacked, when I built a good physique and got aesthetic, the world accepted me more. We're going to dive into why, but it's not magic, okay? Now, the reason why I needed to do this and why you need to do this as well. You are probably like me and you started off with a lot of negative traits and are not naturally confident or gifted, and therefore have always found it hard to converse and fit in. I was always the guy on the last picked team in school sport. I was the guy who was insecure. I was always a bit shallow and always a bit weird to jump into conversations. I doubted myself. I had no confidence, and that led to social anxiety, okay? And this is simply just a key indicator of what is called the phalo effect. Basically, negative traits mean you're going to be perceived negative in the real world. And when you have the phalo effect absolutely fucking you from all directions, what's going to happen is you're going to self-humiliate yourself. You're going to do shit like I was doing, which is pretty brutal, like going to school with fucked up haircuts and trying to be funny by self-humiliating myself just to break social barriers and fit in. And at the time, I thought that this was cool. At the time, I was being funny. But realistically, people were just judging me and laughing at me, not with me. And that is so brutal. Like, this just leads to crazy mental health issues, and it makes the social anxiety worse, okay? Now, the interesting thing is, you're probably experiencing the phalo effect, but there are guys who experience the halo effect, okay? The guys who are naturally attractive in school, the guys with the six packs in the change rooms, the guys that naturally had all the girls, the guys with straight teeth and better looking faces, they were naturally attractive and they never really had issues fitting in. And they were not socially awkward because they didn't have negative traits that could be judged, okay? They were simply just naturally better than others. So nobody really had anything to judge them based on. They couldn't really get perceived negatively. So they had no social anxiety as a result, going back to the base definition, okay? And that's why it is simply a case when it comes to social anxiety, in my life at least, of the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, okay? And the way I overcame this, the way I got rich and the way you can get rich as well, if we weren't gifted, is to build a physique. Because at the end of the day, confidence comes from competence. And if you have nothing going for you, if you started out with rock bottom, you can build something that makes you competent as a man. The number one thing to do is to build an aesthetic, attractive physique. Now, with the physique that we actually want to build, what is it? Well, I did some thinking and I realized that if social anxiety is likely stemming from interactions with women and girls, like, you're more than likely going to have more nerves and more social anxiety talking to girls than you are with other dudes, okay? If that's the case, then why don't we optimize to become attractive and accepted in the eyes of women? Because if we can do that, then we're going to be more positively perceived and we're going to have less rejection and we're going to have a better time, which is going to lead to better results. And that way our social anxiety is going to decrease, right? And that's where the female gaze physique enters the room. This is the number one thing that you need to do. You need to build the female gaze physique to optimize your attraction, optimize your aesthetics, and therefore, when you do this, your social anxiety will go away. Okay? You can see here many different experiences. I've read about it as well, but it works. Okay? This shit works. The more and more aesthetic I got, the more and more I built muscle, the more time I spent in the gym, the more positive benefits I had, the more positive, outcomes. Okay? And what actually makes up this physique? Well, it is made of three things specifically. Number one, it's a V-taper, and that's because it helps you to appear more protective and actually look more assertive and commanding. This will legit make people more agreeable in general, okay? Because like I said, social anxiety, you're probably timid, you're probably feeling small, but if you can get bigger as a person, then you're more physically imposing. People are going to be more agreeable, less likely to deny you, and less likely to make fun of you. It's this whole thing of, you can't be bullied anymore, so you're not going to be insecure, okay? Next, we're going to go for vascularity to show peak health markers and fitness, which basically means you're better than most people because you're actually fit, and a lean midsection, which is literally better than almost everyone on the planet. So you'll instantly get perceived more positively, because if you pull up with this physique, who the fuck can realistically judge you? Because if someone says, oh, you're weird, or you have, they can't say anything because you're literally mogging them. You literally have a way better physique than them. You're literally in the top 1%. So how can they be negatively perceiving you if you look like this? It just doesn't make sense logically, okay? And that's why at the end of the day, we're just trying to get better than other people. Because if we can keep getting better than other people, we're going to have less social anxiety, because there are less people who can perceive us negatively, because they're going to be jealous of us and they're going to know that they're not as good as us. And it sounds brutal, but that's the truth, okay? Now, I simply want to ask you, do these guys have social anxiety? Just as a reminder, no, they don't, okay? Now, that's because they optimize the female gaze physique. They have the physique that women find attractive, and if you can optimize for women, you're going to have more positive benefits in the real world, therefore less social anxiety. So the number one thing still here is you still need social exposure, okay? But if you build this physique, the rejection is going to be way less likely, and that's when the snowball effect is going to take place with every single interaction you have, okay? This is exactly the case with me. Just some examples, like look at this text that you can see right here. This comes from building the physique. Now, I want you to ask yourself, if you receive this text, now going to talk to that person, would you feel anxious or would you have social anxiety? Fuck no. Would you be anxious or socially awkward if you walked into a club and you had chicks throwing yourself on you because of your physique? Fuck no, okay? And that's why you need to build the female gaze physique. That's why it is essential. And if you want help to do this yourself and to fix your social anxiety and master all aspects of life as a masculine young guy trying to improve, check the link in the description for the community. But with that being said, I hope this has helped. Remember that progress is purpose, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.